Welcome back, everybody, to the NHCFAE Career Series Podcast. I'm John Espinosa. I am your corporate chairperson, and today we're going to dive into the global side of aviation. It is a pleasure today that our guest, Josue Gonzalez, he is from ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, and today we're going to understand exactly ICAO, how to get involved. And one of the things that is near and dear to my heart, and we'll share later, is how ICAO has impacted me as a member of the agency, as a coalition member, and provided me some opportunities that I probably wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't gotten involved. So, Josue, welcome to the podcast. You're a second time guest for us, but go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners out there. And tell us a little bit about your background.
Morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone here. My name is Josue Gonzalez, and thank you for the second invite. I guess it's a topic of what people want to hear because it's opportunities. But I am work for ICAO. I'm a secondee from the FAA. I am in the North American, Central America, and Caribbean office in Mexico City. My background and my purpose of my job here is air traffic management. So I help states with policy in the North America, Central, and the Caribbean region, and also dive into the South America and other offices. But majority of my career has been with the FAA, numerous facilities, from starting my career at Washington Center as a controller, certified with the Memphis Center, went to San Juan CREP, went to FAA Command Center, then went to headquarters, and as I can see the OU helmet in the background, I was in AJI 24 for training over the academy and the control workforce.
Yeah, that's near and dear to my heart as well. I know the Air Traffic Training Academy here in Oklahoma City is in the spotlight right now, as we're training over 2,000 air traffic controllers right here in our backyard in Oklahoma. So, one thing that I want the listeners to walk away with is an understanding of what ICAO brings to aviation. So could you dig into that a little bit and tell the listeners the benefit of ICAO and the part that it plays within the bigger world of aviation?
So ICAO is a global aviation stakeholder. So we bring all 193 states, and it's to pretty much talk the same language. So when you're traveling overseas, traveling from across, let's say outside of the US, going to Canada, going to Mexico, going to Europe, you got to have the same continuous safety parameters, efficiency, like a bar set for everyone. ICAO helps provide guidance, recommendation, and a lot even from not just for air traffic, because we can say the 7110.65, a lot of the phraseology comes out of ICAO guidance. That's where a lot of the phraseology comes from. It just so happens every single state in the world has their own version of their document, but it's based off of what ICAO has written. And it's not, and ICAO is made up of numerous bodies, from expertise, from technicians to safety to security, from controllers to everything you can think of with the aviation sector. So it's just to make sure that we're all connected, regardless of what state you're with. It can be from Cuba, Russia, regardless. We have to make it safe and efficient for everyone that flies globally.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I can imagine is a challenge for ICAO is the influence. You're dealing with all of these states, right? Each one of them have special interests. So talk to us a little bit about that ICAO influence and in the impact that it makes.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest factors, because regardless of your background and expertise, because you can be an individual that is a subject matter expert in policy writing or a technician or anything like that, going to these meetings, having these conversations with these director generals, because you're speaking to high level individuals in these states, and it's trying to show them the benefit of how to do certain things a certain way, because I can't come in and be like, hey, this is what the US does. this is what you think you should adopt, because every state is different because you have different resources, you have different equipment, you have different challenges, you have different type of traffic, the influence, and it's almost like it's almost like a relationship with these with these individually states, because you start in the basics and trying to learn their whole process, and it's good to visit locations too, because when you go to these locations and visit, you get to see their facilities, see their infrastructure, see what their challenges are, and try to morph that around, because one of the main things for ICAO is no country left behind, and the meaning for that is to make sure that we don't get so far advanced that we're leaving a particular state behind because of that, and it's not their fault. And it's not the fault of the people that are there, the controllers or technicians. It's We have to make sure that we're aware whenever we make policy, it does help everyone, not just the larger states or the smaller states, because something that might influence U.S. may not be good for Cuba or good for Trinidad and Tobago. It might be different types of level of traffic influence. It's a huge factor, and then that's where you gain trust, and then so forth, and that's how you can actually uh, grow and become better as what you're trying to accomplish, and see what they are capable of doing, and then actually try to feed them that way. But yeah, that is a huge thing. And honestly, that's almost like a life lesson. You better learn how to influence your things, how to push, when to pull back, when to understand that, because if they're not understanding you, you're missing the whole opportunity there.
Yeah, what I hear you say is, relationship management, right? And how we create those relationships, nurture those relationships, and then build that trust. You use that T word that I think is at the foundation of any relationship,
Yeah.
and influence begins there.
Yeah.
One of the things that has always intrigued me about ICAO, and I'll just share my personal story. At one time, the FAA Academy was Train Air certified, and that
Yeah.
was a special certification that is granted under ICAO for training organizations. And we would get students from all over the world. I had the opportunity to go under one of the programs to Eastern and Western Africa. It was Bugasu who was the organization there. And we actually, you mentioned Director General, we had a DG sitting in our class. It was a train the trainer class. So we went in and we would teach instructors in the various disciplines how to train their specialties. And it was a 5-day course. We would fly into the country, we would deliver the course on Monday. Friday we would end, and we would leave the country on Friday and come back to the States. So it was a long travel day, but as I mentioned before the interview, we were talking, it was one of the most rewarding experiences that I have had in my FAA career. Also, I had an opportunity to go down to Mexico City and train the CAA down there. And I walked away with a greater appreciation of the impact, really, of global aviation. You mentioned it earlier with the influence. In the FAA brings that standard with them, right? They may not be, universally applied, but in the end, a lot of the training that I would go and provide, we would pack the rooms. I mean, people wanted that training. And that was just a way that I got involved. But someone who's listening out there that may not have ever heard of ICAO or wants to get involved in ICAO, what would you say to them? How can they get involved? And what are the different things that they may have to go through to get to where you've been, or maybe even in the entry level?
No, it's so many ways, because it's honestly, there are opportunities with ICAO with secundies, and secundies is just a fancy term for detail. I'm detailed to ICAO, and I'm used as a subject matter expert for my particular expertise. There's another individual that just got hired as a remote secondee from DC, and he's going to be doing safety. And they're trying something different now, but he's going to be based out of DC and travel to Mexico City once a month.
Uh,
So he can have that balance. So they're trying that out. But the ways to get in, there is a particular website. There's ways, if you want to do a full-time ICAO, yes, there is a website that I can share, that you can share with this podcast,
sure.
and it's on the ICAO portal, and it'll list jobs throughout the whole world and what type of expertise they're looking for. And there's, of course, secondees. These are just sent out through your CAA. They're requesting a expertise in a particular area, and it's normally a 2-3 year detail opportunity to go to this particular state. And so there's many ways. And honestly, I have open book. You can reach out to me directly if you feel like you want to have a one-on-one conversation. I'm open to it. My particular position ends, I will be, I think my detail ends May of 2027. So my actual position will be going out, and I'll share with everyone with what the group is, would go out sometime midsummer because
Okay.
it takes about a whole year for the whole process to even go from applying, from interviewing not only with FAA, because you need the trust from leadership that that's the person you're going to send to an international state. And then, of course, ICAO has to interview to make sure that they're actually getting who they're asking for. And then, of course, the State Department has to put you through international training from, and honestly, those are amazing training. That's one of my favorite training with the State Department because they do prepare you for any situation overseas from because we've had some protests, we've had numerous issues in Mexico in the last few months with with the cartel, so it's like a little bit different. But the if there is one thing uh, that because I tell this to my kids all the time that if you were to gain another language, you're already ahead of a lot of the people because ICAO speaks, the main three languages for ICAO is English, Spanish, and French.
Yeah.
Those are the main three. But whenever we go to assembly, we have the interpretation and we have people speaking Mandarin, people speaking Japanese, and we just switch on that. But if you're able to take advantage on speaking an additional language, and of course Spanish is a huge one. If you get to gain French, those are steps that ICAO is always looking for individuals that can speak multiple language because there is a job for you because now, okay, this person can speak multiple languages. What's the skill set? We can find something for this individual. So yeah, if you can gain a language, please go for it because and it's honestly like if you can speak Spanish, of course, but French is the main one. The headquarters is in Montreal. Those are the main ones that I would point out eventually. But honestly, your career, FA prepares you for a lot of things. Like you'd be surprised of all the ELMS courses you take, all the individual reading initials, a lot of the training that you go through the whole process, you are way more advanced than a lot of other states that you'll get for training. A lot of people don't get the training that the FAA gives out, and please take advantage of that. Please embrace it, and because that's something that can be used. Like you said, you went to other locations, train a trainer, because you'd be surprised. And you said you had a DG in the actual sit-in, so that telling you a COO at that level is listening to a conversation because they don't get that type of training that a typical U.S. state would have versus the other one. You would think they have it, but it also enlightens me that that individual wants to learn and continue learning because you can always learn in any particular meeting. But yeah, languages and I think anything related to your line of business, and don't be afraid to jump out of your lane because like I've done air traffic management. I've done training. I've done air traffic. I've done mission support. I've done different things. And the reason for me is because I just wanted to know how is the inner working? How does this work? How does this process? How can I get a budget approved that I don't know how to get the budget approved? So don't be afraid to jump out and because your expertise might bring something to the other individual.
Yeah, I think, as we expand our influence within the coalition here, there may be people out there, members, listeners that don't necessarily work for the FAA. So, speaking to them, what are some entry level positions? It could include internships, it could include opportunities just to get involved in ICAO. Can you talk to any of those? And maybe you mentioned some skills already, skills to build relationships, influence, being multilingual, really being a jack of all trades or getting experience in different areas of aviation. What other things would you recommend for those entry level, maybe a student or an intern or somebody that's just looking to step into aviation as
Yeah,
a
there's
career?
there's a lot of internships available on the website. It's similar to a particular job site. You fill out their application, and once you fill out the application to your skill set is, it automatically you can actually set it to apply for certain jobs in certain locations. But I can provide examples and a link for that. But it's for anyone that's outside of the FA community and let's say is still in the aviation community or even outside of the aviation community, there is opportunities because ICAO is always it's well rounded. It's looking for women. It's looking for medical. It's the UN is ICAO falls under the United Nations umbrella, so it's looking for that international footprint for every single from doctors to lawyers to interpretations, translation. They're looking at everything because it's almost if you were in a military and on anything like in that, it's like it's a one-stop shop for everything. Like I can go and get that expertise in this particular building because they have everyone and they're seeking if there is like they are looking for space expertise like that's a new one that they're trying to evolve and they create a position on trying to find okay who knows about space like let's find a position and it was like okay this person can be entry level because we need to grow this individual because we don't know what we need to know in 5 years for space. So there's not necessarily you have to have all the skill set, but like internships and they have two level of jobs. So they have G level, which is general staff, and then they have professional level, which is management, or expertise. So they have two levels, and then of course you have the directors and beyond. But those are the two general levels, and it goes from G1 to G7, I think, and then it goes from P1 to P6 or something like that. You have the skill sets. 1000%. I can pull out if you give me an example of an individual. I'm sure that individual will fit that puzzle piece in ICAO because that skill set is either needed or is identified as a gap. And then if it's identified as a gap, it's like now they want to know more about because like how can we resolve that? Because on my board we have a strategic plan from 2026 to 2050. So they're already thinking 24 years ahead. So now we're working on 2051 and beyond. So we're trying to stay ahead of what the aviation world is doing with drones to like because honestly like it's aviation is always evolving, just like the accidents that's happened the last week or so. We're going to look at everything again, what can be resolved. And I'd say this before, and I've said it numerous times. A lot of policies, a lot of things are written in blood because it's something negative happens. But if we don't do it and resolve it and try to bring different type of diversity and expertise to actually plug in and actually do it, we can't resolve it. It's going to repeat itself. So it's like we're trying to prevent that. So now it's just trying to blend different expertise and people, and it's not necessarily about one skill set. It's like it's individual because your DNA and your expertise is different from mine, so we can both bring value to something. As long as you're coming in open-minded, the world is yours.
Yeah, and I think that's important for anybody out there who's listening to take away from this conversation. The one thing that I heard you say was don't discredit your experience.
Yeah.
We all bring unique perspectives
Yeah.
to the situations. And I think a lot of times just the application process alone, going out there, clicking a link, whether it's an internship, whether it's a job opportunity, people become frozen
Yeah.
when they start reading all of the requirements and the education or the experience needed.
Yeah.
And there's those things that it doesn't matter how small they are. It could be from organizing a church group or coaching a youth, team, sports team, all the way up to a volunteer organization, getting involved in a volunteer organization, student council, student president, moving into maybe working in another internship opportunity. That I always encourage people that you only see what is in front of you
Yeah.
today. And that's the polished product, right? You see a Josue with a nice suit and a nice tie and sitting in a nice office and afforded a great opportunity. What I think is important also is to understand that it took you multiple, things to do to get to that spot. So if you're out there and you're listening, you're like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can be a Josue. I would encourage you to apply, reach out to Josue, make sure that I have been afforded opportunities in my life because people have helped me get there, and don't go about it alone. I think that's the other message that I heard from you today is that
Absolutely.
ICAO is an organization of states that are building something 2049, I believe you said,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I couldn't even imagine what the next 5 years of aviation will look like, much less the next 20 years of aviation or 30 years of aviation. So, the work that you're doing, Josue, I commend you. Thank you very much for taking the time. I always ask one last question to all of our guests. What is something that we didn't talk about that we should have talked about?
That's a good one because I was going to share one small story to like just it was just because like when I worked in San Juan, I fell in love with working with the international FIRs around me. And from that point, from when I fell in love, because I think it was 2013, I didn't get into international until 2024. So don't think it's an overnight thing. Don't think that there's other jobs that can help you position yourself better, but don't be discouraged because opportunities comes in different ways. And it's amazing the people that you meet, people that you collaborate with, either being with your family, school, anything from work. Just be open minded, and don't be afraid to be wrong because it's not about being right or wrong. It's about learning on what actually occurred and move on. Because like honestly, if you apply for a job and don't get it, that's a learning experience. What maybe request that actual debrief, request that actual like what could I have done better? Like was it the actual interview? Was it my skill set? Like to all the listeners out there, I applaud this coalition. I love it. I wish I would have joined sooner, just because I honestly believe in what the mission you guys are providing. And honestly, it was like uh, it's a moment, whatever happened earlier this year on why you guys had a transition, but the transition is actually better for you guys now because now you can actually touch more people, touch more individuals, touch, you know, people globally. So now you're a global brand that can reach out and actually show people like, hey, you can actually do these certain things. So I applaud you guys for everything that you're doing. I love you guys. I love this podcast. I love this process. And honestly, don't be afraid. I'm put on my pants just like everyone else does. So I'm not a special individual. You can do my job. I can, yeah, it's not trying to downplay it, but it took a process to get to where I'm at. So yeah, kudos to everyone that's wanting to pursue a career and just be happy with it. There's plenty of jobs for everyone. There's no need to feel like that's the one path. There's plenty of jobs for everyone.
Well, Josue, as we wrap up, I want to say thank you. Thank you for helping us understand the ICAO organization and how listeners out there can begin to engage. And I would also encourage everybody out there, if you're looking for more information on the coalition, how to become a member, the mission and vision, as Josue mentioned, you can reach out www.nhcfae.org for more information. We'll put all the links that Jose mentioned down in the show description that you can click on in the contact information. So thank you everybody for listening in. Thank you, Josue, for being our guest. 3 times a charm. So this isn't the last time we're going to see you, I can promise.
I
Everybody, yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for listening. Have a
All right.
good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.